poet, Sir Henry Taylor, said this: "He that lacks time to mourn, lacks time to mend. Eternity mourns that. 'Tis an ill cure for life's worst ills to have no time to feel them." We gather today in one of life's worst ills, to honor April, to recall her life and establish her legacy. It is fitting to honor the fallen who so valiantly fought the good fight. And yet we also gather to stitch into our lives a bit of April for our own good. We mourn to mend. We mourn to heal. And in this we feel both the sting of death and the breath of life. I invite you to pray with me.
When I came into Emmaus to rebuild this department, April, along with her husband Sean, were one of the rock-solid members that allowed me to do that and accomplish my goals. April, if you hadn't worked with her, many of you may not know, she was one of the mother figures to the boys here. She primarily worked overnights, 3 to 4 times a week. And if I came in at 7 o'clock and April was waiting for me, I knew it was something wasn't pleased. And usually it was because the evening shift didn't do their dishes. But in tribute to her, she didn't complain about anything that she didn't correct herself first, and then she complained. And I respected that very much. And the rebuilding of this department was also one of her efforts. And I wish to thank her and her family and all those others who helped rebuild this department.
Life is mostly about first times. These events have an everlasting place in our individual hearts and minds. For example, your first car, your first love, or your first home. For me today, speaking at the celebration of life as a fire chief is my first, and I'm truly honored that it's for April. I could stand here today and tell you April was an excellent firefighter and speak about her dedication to the fire service, but everyone in this engine bay knows after 20 plus years in the field, her reputation precedes her. We could talk about the countless incidents she responded to. We could talk about all the lives saved, fires fought, and the positive things she experienced or had an impact on in the fire service. But we have a full day to reflect on that. I want to talk to you about the type of person that April is and how she's been in the fire department and in this building. Certain events come to mind when I think of April, as many of you do too. Whether it's the gear stool, the fire inspector's desk, the ladder bay refrigerator, or hanging up on the Secret Service. These pieces of April's amazing story immediately bring a sense of joy and laughter. They will always be a part of the folklore and history in this fire station. Every one of us carries at least one memory that we will never forget about April. Personally, my fondest memory of April was not long after I started working here at Emmaus and was still building trust and confidence with the staff, who did not know me as a leader. One morning there was an issue that brought me to the firehouse extremely early to cover the ambulance. To say I was a bit grumpy would be a fair statement. Apparently, April, in her compassionate note, took notice and asked me if I needed anything. I sarcastically said, "Yeah, I could use a bottle of bourbon and a revolver." I ran a few calls that morning, and it was several hours later before I was able to get back to my desk. When I arrived, there was a gift bag with a bottle of bullet bourbon and a handwritten note from April. Sorry, they were fresh out of revolvers. That is the kind of person April is, compassionate and caring with a little bit of humor. She will be greatly missed, but not forgotten. And we are all a little bit better for having known her. Tonight, I will finally crack open that bottle and have a drink in her honor. My final words here today are for April. Thank you for everything. Not for what you did for only this community, but for the staff here and me personally. You will be missed.
This is the tradition of the American firefighter. The fire service today is ever-changing, but is steeped in traditions 200 plus years old. One such tradition is the sound of the bell. In the past, as firefighters began their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day's shift. Throughout the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave souls to fight fires and to place their lives in jeopardy for the good of their fellow citizens. And when the fire was out and the alarm had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled to all the completion of that run. When a firefighter had died in the line of duty, paying the supreme sacrifice, it was the mournful toll of the bell that solemnly announced the comrade's passing. We utilize these traditions as symbols, which reflect honor and respect on those who have given so much and who have served so well. To symbolize the devotion that this brave soul had for her duty, a special signal of 5 rings, struck out 3 times each, represents the end of our comrade's duties, and that she will be returning to quarters. And so, to April, who has selflessly given her life for the good of her fellow man, her task completed, her duties well done. To our sister April, her last alarm, she's going home.
Lehigh County to Master Firefighter April Lubenetski. Lehigh County to Master Firefighter April Lubenetski. This is the last call for Master Firefighter April Lubenetski. April, you have served our community in so many ways, with a career beginning in 1999 at Henlico Fire Company, and then going on to serve with the Lehigh County CART Team, Lehigh County Special Operations Team, Catasauqua, Lehigh Township, and Emmaus Fire Departments. April, we all honor and respect your achievements and accomplishments. You have fought the good fight and always supported the members of Emmaus Fire Department. We will all miss you, but we know that you will be watching over all of your fellow brothers and sisters in the fire service, as well as your loving family. April, may you rest in peace, knowing your strength lives on in your family, and your honor lives on in all of us. We guarantee that your memory shall remain strong. April Lubenetski, you are now clear of duty. We thank you for your service and dedication. Rest in peace, sister. We'll take it from here.
but I find no greater honor than why we are here today. We gather to remember, honor, celebrate the life and legacy of April. She fought a valiant fight in fire service and in her health. May today be a cementing in our own lives of all the good things we experienced from April.
Beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of a white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side, and she is just as able to bear her load of freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone says, "There, she is gone," there are other eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes." And that is dying. Death comes in its own time, in its own way.
To recall her life and establish her legacy, it is fitting to honor the fallen, who so valiantly fought the good fight. And yet we also gather to stitch into our lives a bit of April for our own good. We mourn to mend. We mourn to heal. And in this we feel both the sting of death and the breath of life. Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman phrases it this way: pain shared is pain divided, and joy shared are joys multiplied. Today is about not just feeling our ills, but sharing them as we do. Our pain is somehow made a little bit lighter.
The next will be
April was the best compliment that I could ever have. She was always caring and loving. She loved godchildren like me. April always made time for us. And was by our side. Even when she wasn't feeling so good, she was always played with us, enjoyed the fun. She would always come with us wherever we go. We made so many memories. She would always go on fire calls and help others in need. I loved her so much, I really miss her.
Nothing can prepare you for a loss that is so great. No bargaining, no denial, no way to change the fate. Acceptance is an illusion that you can't touch nor feel. So you bow your head, completing prayer, asking God to mend and heal. Though it's not for us to question the where, the why, the how. So you cherish each and every hour, because all you have is now. The past will secure the memories, the ones you hold so dear. The days spent preparing for that dreaded hour we fear. It's in between you'll find a peace to guide you through, with simple smiles, holding hands in every single I love you. There's a strength to gain in the moments that come. When words are no longer said, it's in the promises you made. You comfort and care at home in one's own bed. So remember that the body's but a vessel protecting our souls on earth. And that God will call on this faithful soul because only He knows what they're worth. So April, I'm here to tell you, my promise kept firm and head steadfast. No more precious and ending goodbye is then. When you were there, when I took my first breath, and I was there when you took your last. Thank you.
To say her impact was immeasurable feels like an understatement. She was more than a friend. She was family. For my family, she was affectionately known as Aunt April, and her absence leaves a hole that can never be filled. April was a force of nature, kind, incredibly funny, and always up for an adventure. She had this amazing ability to pull you out of your comfort zone, to make you try new things you never thought you'd even enjoy. Remembering our annual Christmas light traditions and gingerbread house makings, those are just a few of the countless memories I'll cherish. Moments that were brighter, funnier, and more joyful, simply because April was there. And I'm so incredibly thankful that April was often the one behind the camera, capturing these moments. Thanks to her, I have an endless treasure trove of photos, tangible memories of her incredible life and our time together.
I had the pleasure of knowing the witchy with a B, fun side loving. Today we gathered to celebrate the remembrance and the life of April, my dear friend, my confidant, and godmother to my children. April was a person of immense kindness, unwavering loyalty, and infectious enthusiasm. She was occasionally stubborn, but always supportive and full of laughter. Her presence in our lives was invaluable. She was more than a friend. She was a true companion who stood by us through thick and thin. Her genuine care for others was evident in every interaction, and her ability to uplift our spirits with her humor and positivity.
And we usually tell them it's kind of like a light switch. And a lot of us in the emergency services have that. We've been on accidents together where it's horrific, and there's other members there that they have to walk away. And myself or April or both of us together will come in and deal with that situation. We have a job to do, and we are there to fix the problem. And we can't let emotion get in our way of doing our job. I wish I had that light switch right now. I think the breaker's tripped. Surprisingly, the two of us had not been on the hose line together very much. We seemed to go and do other tasks. She was usually the interior firefighter, and I was usually on the roof, dropping it on her head. True story. She would constantly remind me of that story. In fact, that happened right down the road here. I cut a hole in the roof, pushed the debris through to let the steam and smoke out, and I hear her yelling at me through the vent hole. I didn't know they were in the attic. You hear the chainsaw running, don't stand there.